we have our oral history microphone in Murray, Kentucky on South 4th Street, the home of R.E. Kelley. It's a real pleasure to be visiting in the home today of Mr. Kelley. How old are you, Mr. Kelley?
I'm 88 years old. Was 88 January 12th. This last January 12th.
Well, where were you born?
I was born in Marshall County, out about 2.5 miles east of Benton on 404 Highway. Just across the river.
Just beyond Clark's River.
Clark's River, that's right.
And who were your parents?
His parents was Robert E. Kelley, Bob Kelley was, and my mother was Henry Henson's daughter, Rosella Henson. And they were married in 1870.
You know anything about your grandparents?
My grandfather was Henry Henson, and grandmother was a Culp, Nancy Jane Culp.
All those are very famous Marshall County names.
Yeah, that was about all of ours over in there, nearly, was Hensons and Culps.
Now, the name Kelley couldn't be much more Irish, could it?
No, that's right. But it wouldn't be many generations back. And my grandfather Kelley, he lived out between Brownsburg and Birmingham. He was the father of 21 children. 21 children. And he died at 77, and he was 19 at his bed.
Well, he certainly raised a wonderful family, didn't he?
That's right.
And they lived. Now, your school days, were they spent in that part of the world?
At Clark Schoolhouse, out on close to the Birmingham and Brownsburg Road. And we lived over on 408. It's about 2 miles across there. We had to walk across them hills and hollers and jump ditches and climb fences.
You mean a new school bus didn't come in?
No, sir, that bus didn't roll in. If you went with a horse or a buggy or anything that way, you'd have had to been about 3.5 miles around.
Mm-hmm. Well, I never rode a school bus myself, even I'm a little younger than you, but not a whole lot, I guess. Do you recall your first teacher by any means?
The first teacher was Charlie Jones. I went 2 schools to him. And I went 2 schools to Charlie Jones, went through to George Smith, 2 to Lucy Faust, 2 to Frank Henson, 2 to Ethel Washburn as Dr. Sam Henson's wife. And Nita Colley was the last teacher that I went to. And that was I was 20 years old then.
It was true, I think, in a number of neighborhoods that when you finished the 8th grade, there being no high schools readily available, that if the teacher didn't care, you just
kept it going.
You went ahead and you learned some more each year, of course.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I thought I learned more in the last 2 or 3 years that I went did all the rest of the school.
All right, what were some things that you liked most about school? Did you have a favorite subject?
Well, I liked arithmetic and geography. There was 2 things that I tried to learn and back then I was good in spelling. Now I can't spell nothing.
You have spelling bees?
We had spelling bees. We'd stand up around the wall and see who could stand up the longest. And I know Mabel Clark. She was the best teacher, a best scholar, speller that went to school. She'd always stand up last.
Did you say that you were kin to some of the Hensons?
My mother was a Henson.
Was she kin to Dr. Sam?
Dr. Sam Henson. My grandfather and his father was half brothers. And then old Rice Henson. He was a doctor. He was a doctor back when you didn't have to have a license. He didn't have a license till in the 20s. And He was the doctor that brought me into the world. And but he was just as good before he had to have lighting days. He did.
As it was after.
Most of his medicine would be in powders, wouldn't be no pills. He'd dose them out and take him some paper and put enough powder in after a dose, and then wrap them up and set them inside.
There weren't many drugstores, so the doctors provided their own medicine.
Yeah, that's right. You didn't have no prescriptions at all. The doctor, he'd give you medicine when he went to see you.
What did you like in games and so on that you played?
Well, I like baseball. I'd rather play baseball as anything. And I like to look at them now.
What position did you play?
Well, I've played all parts. I've pitched, caught behind first base, but I was good in the field. I could catch a fly. I know there's one fella down there here the other day, Tater Day, saw me. He told me one thing. He said, "You remember you were pitching and throwing 9 balls and getting 3 out. Didn't nobody touch a ball."
Yeah.
But I never could pitch long would give out. No, couldn't. It hurt me.
While you were in there, though, you worked about it.
That's right. We were good. Edgar Harley, he went on and he was in the big leagues. When he'd come home, he wouldn't play. He'd come home after ball games over, you know. He wouldn't play with us, but we was as good as he was.
Yeah, he could play with the professionals, but there were folks back in Marshall County. Well, let's see, the Tygonian was right good down in that part of the world somewhere.
Yeah. Clovis Childs.
Bernard Holland used to play some, I think.
Right, yeah. And the Creasons, Bess Creason, Rollie Creason and all them, they're good ball players.
Did you ever have any problem with the teachers?
I never had no trouble with my teachers. I always tried to please them.
Well, that's good.
As far as I could.
What were some of the things that young people did as recreation, say, after they got out of school, your courting days and so on?
Well, of course, we first had horses. Everybody had a horse in the saddle. And we'd go places that way. And then we got buggies later on. And we'd all go in buggies. But now, back then, a girl didn't go with you in a buggy without these 2 buggies along together. And you had to be...
Make sure there was some checking on
that. That's right.
Well, it might have been a good idea.
I guess so. Might be now.
Yeah. Well, someone was telling me that a lot of the things they did were actually work, but they did them and they became fun. Like this one lady said that she would go, her boyfriend would come and they would shell beans together.
Yeah, we'd have bean hullings of a night. We'd have bean hullings and be 25, 30. Right, that bean hulling, and we'd sing every song we knowed. Yeah. Back then, people knowed songs. They'd sing. And
you didn't depend on radio and TV to entertain yourself.
Yeah.
Well, that was good.
And we'd sing funny songs, and we'd joke, tell tales.
My dad told me once about a game that sounded pretty interesting to me. He said they shell corn. And if you got a red ear, you got to kiss a girl.
Yeah. We'd have candy bakings. We'd have about 3 colors candy. We'd have it broke up, and we'd be in a dish pan, and we'd take your girl, you know, and go in. If we got 2 pieces alike, you got to kiss her.
Oh, that's good. I tell you, our grandfathers knew a lot, but
that's right. We enjoyed ourselves, I believe, more than people there knew. I know they laughed more.
You sang songs together. All that was great.
That's right.
Well, did you get married soon after you had finished school?
I went to school till I got married. And I went to school till I was 20 and married when I was 21.
And your wife was whom?
Was Effie Malcolm. We had 3 children. Sam Kelley was our oldest son. He was born in 16.
Well, that's the one I'll call the famous Sam Kelley of the hatchery and Merle.
He's the pest control.
Pest control, yeah.
He used to dress chickens and things, buy chickens and eggs, and then he got into pest control. He was in there 40 years in the pest control, and he's retired now. He retired since Christmas. He had a heart attack and he had to give up. But his inspector come and told him that he was the only pest control that didn't report a bad at Lexington at the headquarters.
No one had ever complained about his work.
He's the only one who's in his territory.
Well, that is some record. You need to get a little whistle. You need to blow it. That's right. That's wonderful. I know you're proud of it, and you must be very elated at that. So what did you do, Mr. Kelley, to make a living? Did you farm?
We farmed, and when we could get out of farming, we was working somewhere, some hauling tires or making spokes, hauling spokes, and things that way. We used to make lots of spokes and take the Paducah and sell them when we made buggy spokes.
Buggy spokes, wagon wheels. All wheels then had wooden spokes, even automobiles. Yeah, I remember the Model T Ford had.
Yes, sir, had wooden spokes, huh? Yeah. And, but we tried to farm, and we were raised in, our farming was in Clark's River Bottom, out from Benton.
So you grew corn?
We grew corn, wheat. Daddy had a binder. We had the first 2-wheel corn drill there was in our part of the country.
That's pretty fancy equipment then.
That was it. We could run it out. Couldn't I get to use it yourself? We loaned it out before we ever used it.
Well, I don't know if I like that too well or not, but you hate to say no.
That's right.
Did you ever run a hatchery?
I ran a hatchery here at Walter Dykes' out in Benton, where Scott Dykes lives now.
That's inside of the radio station.
That's right. Yeah, that way. Just up on the hill out from it.
Yeah.
And Mr. Dykes died, and then my wife died when I lived up there. And things got bad, and she had a unit depression.
Yes, sir.
And so I went to work in for Emmett Dykes. He was in business over there for 40 some odd years on the Court Square there, on the south side of the Court Square. I worked for him for $9 a week.
That sounds as if it were little, and I'm sure it was, but nevertheless, it was buying a lot more then than $9 would now.
We'd sell sacks of flour for about 40 and 45 cents. I remember that. And so things that way. Everything is cheap.
What else? Could you tell us how Benton looked around the square?
Well, there wasn't no pavement around it at all. When we moved up here in 30. And around the Court Square wasn't even paved then, in 30. And then Main Street, it is just, people didn't travel it, they traveled this other street called Depot Street then. And I saw the times when big singing would be there, people would be solid from the depot to the Court Square, all the way up there, walking right in there.
That's a long ways. 12th Street is one side of the courthouse, and 11th is the other, and all the way down the road.
And the train ran over 2 hours, up and down from Paducah to Paris, backwards and forwards, every 2 hours, all day Sunday.
For a big thing.
Yeah, for big Sunday.
That was like the interurban in Chicago, and Detroit, and New York.
Yeah, big season in Tater Day was 2 days. If you missed that, you missed July.
Well, we don't want to miss them. We still have a good time at them, but I guess they don't draw in the same way they did then.
No.
Well, we need to move along. You moved to Burley in 1930. Tell us what you did while you were here before you retired. Did you remarry?
I married in 30. Married in 30. My wife died in 27. And I married in 30. I lived at Cherry Corner, there in the county. And I farmed. And that is dry year, and it didn't make nothing. Then I went out at Mr. Pilling's, and he had a hatchery out there that he'd run, and he was agriculture teacher at the college then. And
Stanley Pulling. Yes, sir. Yes, sir, I remember.
And so I went to run in the hatchery there. In the first year I didn't do much. Next year I didn't do as good. The second year I did first, but the third year I done all right then, done better. But we wouldn't hatch over 2,000 or 3,000 chickens a year then. And then it come on, we moved down in town then in 34. And then things got to picking up then, and then I moved down here where I'm living now in 40.
Mr. Kelley, there was something you were telling me before we started the program that you want to be sure to get in. You know what it was?
My father and John Peck dug the post holes from Benton to Birmingham in 1901. And that was the first telephone that Birmingham had. It was 1901.
Oh, well, in Birmingham, though, that was considered quite a line.
They couldn't have, they had to stay all night. They couldn't go backwards and forwards. It's too far.
Too far to go.
And
that's certainly an interesting story. Do you remember making your first phone call?
I don't really. Well, I do. People had phones in the country before we did, and I remember talking to one of my neighbor boys, to Sam Philbeck, that is Fred Philbeck's younger brother, and I remember calling him up and talking to him.
Yes, sir.
And I remember one time, Fred Philbeck's father and mother, I don't know how many of the children it's common, but Mary, Sam is about my age, and Mary was smaller, and then Fred and Lex, and they all come over to our house one night. I remember made cafeteria and stayed till I guess midnight.
Well, Mr. Philbeck was in World War I, were you?
No, I wasn't. See, Sam, I was married and had a child, and that put me in
a different bracket. Well, I just thought if you were in service, we'd like to ask you where you went and so on. Do you remember anything about some of the early preachers in the area?
Well, my father, he was a holiness preacher, and he began preaching about as far back as I can remember, really. And he'd preach in bush arbors, and I remember him going to Missouri, held a 2 weeks meeting and didn't get enough money to pay his way there and back.
Well,
that next year he went again. And then he preached down at Simsonian at a church down there, and that way.
All right, let's get back to Benton again and ask you if you remember anything about some of the stores that were around.
Well, Rollie and Benton, Jim Bennon's daddy, and then Roy Kinstra and Hubstra. I remember Daddy telling them that any time me and my brother come in there and buy anything, let us have it on a credit, just and charge it. I remember him telling us that. But there's always...
You didn't need a credit card.
No, we didn't have no credit card.
Just had to buy anyway.
Roy Griffin, I remember being there when I was a little boy, and he got me a hat, a straw hat, and somebody said, look like a girl, and that got me. I didn't have the thing at all, and they made me take it, though I told them to take it in and put little chickens in it.
You've been a chicken man all your life.
All your life, that's right. Well, the first incubator I bought it from O.D. McKinley's uncle.
I know O.D.
Well,
I call him Overdrive. He's high-powered, full of vim and vigor.
When they had to do here at Hardin, he was in that parade, that cart. Well, we went on to Benton that day, and we overtook him. It was raining very hard. It could pour down. He went on that cart to go down. I told my wife, that water wouldn't hurt him. No.
That's good.
I give $1.85 for this incubator that we used in. It's Bell City, where it held 144 eggs, and that was 1916. And I've been hatching chickens ever since then.
Chickens have been good to you.
Still in the hatchling today out there.
Oh, you are?
I am. In the incubator that I made.
I didn't know that.
I'm just a hatchling for fun.
All right. Do you recall when what some of the customs were, let's say, about funerals or...
Well, funerals, most of them was, all of them was held at the cemetery. And you just got the preacher of your choice to hold a funeral, but they carried you anyway, hack or something that way. Didn't know funeral home have hearses and things like that.
Set up for the families where they
set up all night. Everybody with a corpse while you set up all night long.
How'd they get the graves dug?
They dug them just the neighbors, friends and neighbors. We've been that on for a long time.
Do you remember any of the city officials or county officials when you were growing up? Anybody in particular? Maybe a judge or a sheriff or
Jack Fisher and Lawrence Cooper, they were good lawyers. And then I can't think of things.
I've heard of Lawrence Cooper's name. He must have been.
He was a good.
Maybe a judge sometime.
And Walter Backus, he was a senator when he died. And they didn't like him up there because he was against gambling. He was against horse racing.
And of course, the bluegrass area was all horse. That's right. Well, they tell me that's what beat Alvin Barkley for governor. The only race he ever lost, he ran for governor, and the bluegrass beat him. Every other time he won as representative and senator, and of course he made one race for vice president and won that.
really, he ran Truman's president.
Yeah, that's right. Truman was not real popular about the time he made the nomination, and Barkley kind of pulled it out of the fire.
Yeah, just pulled it right out.
That was always my idea about it anyway. What about some of the things that you remember that have changed most? You remember your first radio?
Yeah, the first radio that we had, we've still got the thing now up in the attic. It was a little old radio, but it was about 2 foot high, and a little cabinet. And but radios, we never did have one of the little homemade ones. And
a lot of people did make them out of oatmeal boxes and things like that, but you had bought one.
Yeah, we had a...
The museum, the Raffin Museum out on campus has some of the old ones. I remember seeing an Atwater Kent and a Westinghouse Model 1. I believe Margaret Trevathan Pace gave me that for the museum. It's interesting if you haven't seen it. What about medical treatment when you were growing up?
Well, it was mostly homemade. Mostly we made, take cherry bark and
Fix a cough syrup,
and take honey and boil it down and make a cough syrup, and it's good. It's good. It helps the pain out of your throat, and that's all any of it does.
Wow, of course.
It stops you from coughing. It wasn't as good as you think it would be. And then for children, they'd make catnip tea, and we'd make horehound candy. That would help a cough.
What in the world was catnip tea supposed to do?
Well, it seemed like that was to bake the hives out on the children or something that way.
When they would break out, then the most serious part was over.
Yeah,
and this would speed up the process.
Yeah. And in the spring of the year, we used to go down in the bottoms and get wild salad. And then we'd dig up wild onions, whether it'd be down in the ground deep, dig them up, and you'd get that white stain. All right, they're good and tender, you know. But salad, go with pork, sourdough. My wife would even cook sourdough now. She's afraid to.
Well, Mr. Kelley, I tell you what, our time has gone by in a hurry. Do you have any last word you want to sneak in here before we have to sign off?
Well, I'm just glad I'm still a living. I tell them I'm glad I'm old, because they haven't been dead for now.
That's right.
And I tell them I'm going to live to be 100 or die trying.
Thank you very much. We've been visiting with Mr. R.E. Rollie Kelley in Murray, Kentucky on South 4th Street, who spent much of his life